So I want to tell you a story. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I am pretty good with technology, but only the things that I'm used to, like computers and phones. But when it comes to cars and anything electrical, not it, especially electrical. I don't deal with that. My great grandfather was an electrician. And so anytime we had electric questions at home, we'd always call him or my grandfather because he was pretty good at it too. And so that's the thing for me. If I have like even uh, light switch or changing a bulb, I can handle.
Okay.
But
All
other
right.
than that, that's my extent of electrical things. And so my wife and I live in a condo, and on our deck at Christmas time, every year we'd always put garland, Christmas lights, and then you plug them in. There's one outdoor outlet, unplug it every day. Well, we helped my in laws decorate for Christmas this year, and they put up lights outside their house, and they were like, let's try and use a timer. And I said, oh, well, that sounds great. My grandparents use one of those. I'm sure it's easy. And in my mind, I always thought timers, and this is true. I found that there's lots of different kinds of timers, but
Mm-hmm.
I always thought in my mind that every Christmas light timer, you had to be at the outlet with the Christmas lights, plug them in, and set the timer for a 6 hour period. And then it would know every day after 24 hours to turn back on. Right. So I go to Lowe's and I find their aisle of timers, lots of them. And it hit me, wait a minute. I don't have to buy a timer that I'd have to be physically sitting there at 5:30 when the dust goes, and I have to plug it in at that very moment that I want to happen every day. No, you can just
Uh-huh.
find a timer and tell it what time you want it to come on. This is 2024 here.
Should be.
And so I got some of those, and man, they're nice. I can see why people use these timers. It's great. It's life-changing. But that kind of shows you the extent of my knowledge of technical things, which is why I'm in the podcast world and not in the fixing cars industry. You wouldn't want me fixing your car. But
Yeah, I
anyway.
think I had this. I think I had a similar thing with the timer, and I couldn't figure it out. So you're not alone.
Oh, good. Good.
You're not alone.
Now I know Uwe wouldn't be the same. He'd probably just be like, "Come on, guys, you're children."
He'd reach.
I just buy the Christmas lights where the timers are built in and fixed 6 hours during the day, and then I plug it in once.
Yep. Well, I'm glad you figured that out. It took me 28 years.
But let me also tell you a story, right? So I was at Bosch in the 90s. And the 90s were the era when all the car makers across the world transitioned from mechanically controlled cars with no computer in the car
Yeah.
to computerize everything, right? And I helped building a tool we ended up selling to every car maker and their suppliers in the world. And man, the transitions they had to go through and deal with software in the mechanical world, unbelievable. I
Yeah.
mean, the hesitance by the engineers who now had to either get fired or learn something new,
Mhm.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was fun. We did a lot of great stuff, and now you just take it for granted. And
It
and
seems
and
like that's
then
still happening today, though. Uh,
yeah,
seems like a
especially in
lot
the
of people are still
aftermarket.
dragging their feet.
Yeah, in the aftermarket especially, right? So um, we had a joke. The BMW 5 Series is called 5 Series because it takes 5 hours to reprogram the BMW in the aftermarket.
Yeah. Or 5 years.
No, it's
Yeah.
technology has changed all of this, and I'm glad we have Elon and a few others who basically have leapfrogged the traditional car makers,
Yeah. I
right?
think
Because it would go ahead.
that's like a human thing. Once you do something for so long, so well, you just in your
Yes.
brain, new information is not where you want to be, and you just want to keep doing it a certain way.
Yes.
Even if the Christmas lights are way easier on you than having to go plug them in and unplug them or be there at the exact moment you want them to turn on. Even if it's just there's something in your mind that's just like, oh, this is how I do it.
Right.
I'm not going to change, you know?
Why reinvent the wheel? This is an actual
Yeah,
thing.
I know. Even if it would make your life so much easier, you still
Yeah.
don't. You just can't get yourself to go there.
But it hit me when before Auto Vitals, actually with Auto Vitals, I also visited some collision shops and one specialized in Tesla. And and I was just trying to figure out whether the software we built would also apply to collision shops. And the guy told me that for the same Tesla model, he has to check which one of the doors it is because they have changed the door twice within 18 months.
Hmm.
Remember, Tesla thinks of a car as a software and wheels. They just think and act like it is software and wheels. You can change software anytime. So just build three different doors and forgetting what logistical nightmare that is, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the traditional car makers, they would look at changing a software version as the most difficult thing on the planet. Because
Yeah.
the moment you are responsible for the change of what's called a bill of material, where everything is listed in the car, if you're responsible for a change of it, you run the risk of getting fired
Right.
because it's a mistake, right? Not something good, right? It's really it's not just something new. It's a paradigm shift of the
Yeah.
highest order of.
Yeah.
We haven't even grasped it yet, in my opinion.
I mean, it's just cars aren't cars anymore. They're computers
Right,
with wheels.
right,
And that takes a whole different type of technician, a whole different type of shop owner,
right.
service advisor who is willing to go to the because a lot of people 20 years ago got into this industry because they didn't like computers, didn't like to
Oh, I
have to
see.
learn about tech and stuff. They
Right,
wanted to work on cars because it made sense, and now they have to figure out how all this programming works, and it's very different from just a handful of years ago. You have to learn those things.
yes. And recruiting the new generation of technicians, it helps if you bring some nice tools, starting with a DVI on your tablet with you, right? They know how phones work, and
Yeah,
tablets will say, "Oh, wow, this is now auto repair. I want to know more," right?
that is
It-
true. In a way, it makes it easier to hire. It does.
yes,
The
You
younger
know,
generation. Yes.
it's so this has always been an issue in the repair industry, but educating yourself enough so that you can do your job, great. But educating yourself enough to then learn how to educate the customer is a whole different story. And it's an issue because with all the changes in the repair industry, and some of them are needed, there a lot of the shops that people still continue to go to are so outdated with training and technology that they can't even physically fix the newer cars in the first place. But customer care, but also attention to detail and how they explain what's happening with their car and then why certain repairs are needed is very difficult. And it almost complicates things uh, because of the technology aspect. Um, and I know you guys do a lot of that, and it's important for
yes,
me because I'm uh, I'm inside the automotive repair industry now, but previously I wasn't, and so I'm learning a lot. It's drinking with a you know fire hose, whatever.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's really important for me to know things about my car and why I need to do things But I don't get that kind of education from technicians or most shop owners. Some are great, but most understand it in a way that makes sense to them, but not in such a way that they can explain it to me, the customer. Explain it above my head, and it's not on fourth grade Braxton
Right.
reading version.
Well, and we found that most people are like consumers today want to educate themselves, and we have everything at our fingertips now, right? Dr.
Yeah,
Google,
right.
as they call it.
But that's a good thing and a bad thing, because you
Exactly.
can get lots of bad information out there too, and it can
100%.
further confuse.
100%. And
Yeah,
then that's why you kind of rely on, yeah, sure, do all the research, but bring the information that you found to your service advisor, because that is supposed to be your trusted ally, in your car's health, right? So it's great. We have all this knowledge that's available to us, but you still want to talk to the doctor. You still want to
yeah,
trust the professional that, they know what's best, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's really a cool starting point, I think, because in the past, most auto repair shops understood educating their customers from an authority point of view. I explain to you what I know. Believe me, I'm right. I'm the expert.
right,
That has changed now. We, to your point, we want to make decisions as consumers on our timeline in our control. We just want you to give me the information I understand at my level.
right,
And and so when I found this out way back, actually with a shop owner, Frank, and we had this, he became an involuntary case study, unfortunately, or fortunately for Autotech IQ, I have to say,
right.
because he had two service advisors, and one used a different DVI process than the other one, scored 10 minutes average research time, meaning his customers studied the inspection results for 10 minutes on average.
Wow.
That's so long, right? It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
The other service advisor, and remember, they both had the same text doing the inspection. They both used the same inspection tool, but the other service advisor had only 3 minutes customer research time. And the guy with the 10 minutes scored on average 3,000 more dollars per week with less cars.
wow.
And when I saw that, I said, Frank, same tool, same metrics, same text. Listen to the phone call. That's my only explanation. And one guy just used the traditional process, right? Explain everything on the phone, talk down to the customer almost. And it's a huge download of info, number one.
Yeah.
I mean, just put yourself in the consumer shoes. You get a phone call
Oh, I don't
while
have to.
right home,
I am.
right? You get interrupted, and then you get this fire hose of info. Half of this luck, if you're lucky, you understand, and then you're pressed to make a decision in the same phone call of yes or no,
Right.
right? And so my favorite analogy is: imagine you go to Amazon, look for a product, you find it, you find the page, the web page, but you can't decipher the picture. Not that it's blurry or anything, you just don't know what it shows. And then you get a phone call from an Amazon salesperson explaining to you what's on the picture and asking for the buy. Can you imagine that?
Uh, Amazon wouldn't be where they are today.
You would never use Amazon again?
No.
You feel violated in your autonomy to make decisions.
Right.
And
Right?
back to that service advisor, the process was different. The high scoring service advisor was clear pictures, circling what's wrong, putting in notes in the DVI, where the other one was still back in that I need to take pictures, but not. I mean, I don't know how much information he was actually giving them. He just felt like he still was going to do everything like in the past. Then why do you have a DVI tool if you're not going to use it to your, fullest potential? I mean, it's been proven, time and time again that you can increase your ARO, and that's what everybody talks about who is a DVI software provider these days.
Yeah,
It's proven.
yeah. One of my favorite coaches, Mike Bennett, said once, "This is a belief system you have to change, right? Going from be the authority and explain to meet the customer, pick them up where they are in their knowledge, and give
Yeah.
them the ability to educate themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Not
you want a
you.
Fill in the
friend.
blanks. Mm-hmm.
You want somebody to talk through stuff. You don't want to be sold
Right.
all the time.
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to buy, not be sold.
That's why we save numbers in our phones. So the one that you don't know, you don't answer because it's probably a spam call. Nobody wants that. It doesn't work. Like, I
No.
mean, maybe it did it used to, but not now.
There's
We've
just
learned
because
how
there's
to
just
avoid
too
that
much
stuff.
information, right?
Yeah.
There's just too
Yes.
much. It's coming at us from all directions.
Yep.
And yeah,
But there are other
information overload.
examples, right? You go to the mall because you still want to buy maybe something you want to test, or shoes. Do
Try
they
it on.
fit?
Right.
So you enter the place. The moment a salesperson approaches you right away and says, "Can I help you?" 99% of the people say, "I'm just browsing. I'm just
Right.
looking around." Until you have developed in your head what you're looking for, and then you go to them and ask questions.
Yeah.
Same thing here. The service advisor should just lean back, wait for the phone call, and put time in making the picture self-explanatory at the layman level. Then it's like Googling your own vehicle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you educate yourself, and then you ask questions, and then you get a higher approval rate. It's really simple.
Yeah.
Simple in theory, hard to change the
I was
habit.
Yeah.
about to say
Yeah.
that. I was gonna say that sounds so easy, but why don't we do it?
Yeah.
Right.
Because it is hard. And
And so that's what we teach to the shops. And I give you another example because you brought it up with the addresses and the phone numbers. Most tools who send out a DVI inspection use a phone number which is not the shop phone number.
right.
And although you have been told at drop off, we will send you an inspection result, it's just one little piece of information amongst a lot of other information at drop off. And then you get a text message claiming from a phone number you don't know, it's not in your address book, claims to be the shop, and you are asked to click a link. What do you do with text messages you don't know the sender of, which is asking you to click a link?
Block.
Junk.
You're told
Block.
not to touch those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you never
So a
get to
little
shop on
thing,
Amazon because you have no money because it's all gone if you click those
right?
links.
Right.
Exactly.
Anyway, so there are many little things which
And so you guys are helping repair shops fix all this stuff. And
yes,
okay.
and then we measure it. So we found that declined job rates are the best metric for finding out whether the shop's DVI process works well or not. And so we just got from all the certified shops the database, standardized all the jobs so they are the same, and then we're shocked
Yeah.
because the highest decline jobs by numbers, not by value, are filters. You should think using the DVI makes a filter sale easier. Doesn't seem to be.
Yeah, because you can clearly see how dirty it is.
Exactly.
Exactly. But then stuff like, what is dirty? Right? When you check your AC filter at home, is that dirty? Do you change it because the timer told you? Or do you remember and then look up, oh, it's not dirty, I can leave this.
Right.
Same with the car. So a little trick is just have always clean filters ready in a Ziploc bag for the techs. And then when they pull out the vehicle's filter, hold the other filter next to it, and then you know what's dirty
Yeah.
right away. No matter how dirty it is dirty, right?
Yeah.
Because you have the contrast to clean.
But there's definitely something in the customer's mind, because I've been there. You're sitting in the car, you got an oil change, tire rotation, some minor stuff done, whatever.
Right?
And then the tech or whoever's doing this comes up to you, and sometimes they'll. Now, I've never seen a tech. That's a good thought to compare contrast, but sometimes
Right.
they'll show you the filter, and you can see that it's dirty. But somewhere in your mind, you say, "Oh, that can wait 2 more months."
Yes.
Or
And
they'll say, I'm going to do it myself and
right,
never gets
right,
done.
and then you don't.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
and and I mean, I've been there. I've done that. Uh, and so there's this thing in our minds as consumers of everything. You're always trying to find the scale of is it worth the cost? Do I have the money right now? What and usually filters are not expensive. They're relatively affordable. Uh, but the customers, and this is what I was kind of talking about earlier, was there needs to be better education from repair shops to customers of why things need to happen and why they need to happen now, because the chain domino effect of bad filter that causes other repairs down the road, if you don't keep it clean, you rationalize it in your mind of, I can put that off 2 more months, but in 2 months, the type of damage that could be happening that hurts your car in the long run, you don't think about that. So that's why the technicians and shop owners need to have a better way to explain that to customers, because you're always going to want to say, no, I'm not going to do that right now.
And the interesting thing is, we found, and we're not quite at the end of the journey yet, is there are now so many technical videos out there which are being attached to the DVI result,
Yeah.
focus on being technical. Right? Some are 2 minutes, some are 30 seconds, but it's all about how the car works, right? And and we don't find them very effective. Um, the click rate on those educational videos is not as high as everybody likes it to be,
Yeah.
and and so we have now taken a different approach and are testing it. And Krista and Frank did a little interview, right? So we want to try to go into the customer's mind and ask the shop the typical questions. Why do I need to switch out the filters? Seems to be not necessary, not important, right? And and so we really have to pick up customers where they are and not overwhelm them with technical details.
Yeah. And that's why, the first thing that you see, I love when you go to autotechiq.com. Um, it helps, and you explain this better than me, so please do, but it helps a car owner, myself, go onto your website, educate myself to the extent that I want to be educated, and then find a repair shop that is transparent, that I can trust, that educates customers the right way. And then you can choose. You have a list of these shops on your site. So I think that's super important as we try to talk about changing the industry. And I've talked about this. Industry needs to change, needs to improve, needs to progress, all these things. And there are a lot of shops that are doing that. But the industry itself, the more it grows, that's fantastic. But somewhere along the line, the customer base and the public have to come along too to understand these
Mhm.
things. And so there's a lot of education happening and things are improving, but we've got to somehow help the customer base too. And I think that gets left out a lot.
And the other way around, I have to tell you, it was really interesting with auto vitals. In the beginning, it was all holy grail was what the shop owner told us. And then when we started measuring the interaction of their customers with our product, how long they were doing certain things, we
Yeah.
started educating shop owners how to build the inspection result simply because we had the data and were surprised ourselves, right? And this Amazon example shows, to me at least, customers are already there. They don't want to talk to somebody on the phone, at least
Right.
not until they have a question,
Right.
right? And we just need to pick them up where they are because
Okay.
we buy on Amazon, we buy whatever. When stuff doesn't work in my household, I Google it. I don't pick up the phone and call the HVAC guy.
Right.
Yeah,
And
Right.
but to your point,
I'm not a millennial.
yeah. And to your point, I mean, I think there is still a lot of education that needs to be done, and that is part of our mission is to educate the consumer about a digital vehicle inspection and why it is
Yes.
important. And also, the crossover with that is, as you were saying, is preventative maintenance, right? Super important.
Mm-hmm.
We are firm believers in not the customer that shops around for the cheapest oil change job. That's not your lifelong customer, right? The guy that's price shopping. We don't do any of that on our website. We just want to link up consumers with shops who have great Google reviews and use technology and the transparency technology like a digital vehicle inspection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think obviously if you have an issue with, like you were saying, Uvi, is you have an issue with something, you Google it. You have an issue with your car, you Google repair shops near me, whatever. You'll find, the top hits of good review shops, ones that spend money that are recommended to you, things like that. But
Hmm.
I mean, I this is just me, but I think more people need to know about what you guys are doing because Autotech
Okay.
IQ, when you go there and you can find a shop with the trusted shop locator that you guys have,
Hmm.
because some of the shops that have good reviews still aren't good shops. They're just well liked. And so if I as a consumer know about Autotech IQ, I can go there, I can educate myself, or I can find a good shop.
Hmm.
And you guys kind of do the work of filtering out the shops that I don't want to go to as a consumer. And
Yeah.
so more people need to know about what you guys are doing because it's a revolutionary idea, much
Yeah.
like
There's
DVI was back when you first came up with it.
100%.
But I believe this is one of the things that I've talked about a lot is what I was saying a second ago was need to help the customer base just as much as we're helping
Right.
ourselves, got to help the customer base. And that's exactly what you guys are doing with this. I think it is fantastic. We just got to get more people to know about it.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We thank
And
you. Yeah, there's no other online directory that vets out shops like
No,
we do.
no.
UVA certifies the shop to ensure that their process is up to par. And if not, then we have tools to help. Um, and if it is, then you get certified, listed on the top in your area. But you have to meet those qualifications of having a website, having a high Google review, because we kind of want to be known as a directory for the best of the best shops,
Right.
which doesn't exist. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a circular conversation. But Chris Cotton, who is with Auto Shop Coaching, and Cecil Bullard with the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence, both in the coaching realm, and they have uh, a similar conclusion but different starting points with the conversation. But about the tech shortage, And Chris Cotton always says, well, we don't have a tech shortage, we have a good shop shortage.
Mm.
And Cecil's like, well, we kind of have both. um, but it's true. Going to your site is so helpful, but it also is kind of hard to find that shop that is good, because they are hard to find sometimes, that does everything right. And maybe your website and things like this will help weed out some of the bad ones, and we can get some more good shops out there.
And there's one more element I want to talk about, if that's okay, and that's how
Yeah.
Google works. Right? Google, if you type in brake repair, Google thinks you're looking for a shop. If you type in brake pad replacement, Google thinks you want to do it yourself, and or you want to know how much it is.
It brings up
And
like
so, and so all of a sudden, no auto repair shop shows up on page one.
Right. It's all
And
like
if you just
DIY stuff.
DIY,
yes,
yeah.
but so Google calls that search-based intent, right? So they have figured out, based on your click behavior and the other billions of clicks they have collected over the years, that if you type in certain combinations of terms, oh, you're looking for a shop, and oh, you want to be educated, right? And AutoTechIQ.com shows up for both,
Right.
right? So shop websites have it hard to show up for educational intent because it's nationwide. It's not local. Brake repair is local.
Right.
And
Right.
AutoTechIQ collects both clicks. We're
Now,
trying to.
one moment.
El Gato.
Stupid technology. Tell me about, so Krista, you sent me a press release a few weeks ago about Job View IQ, and we've sort of talked about that a little bit,
Yeah.
but explain more about Job View IQ and how that synchronizes with everything else that you're doing.
Well, as Uwe explained, we found out that decline job rates were really high, low, high,
Super high.
super high at some of these shops. And so they needed a tool to, there's not really anything integrated with software that integrates what we put in. So we have all of our shops information. Jobs, first of all, were not standardized. So what one shop calls something, another shop calls something else.
Well, that's a big
So
issue. Yeah.
having jobs standardized and having all this information in one place is super helpful. And basically, it's a dashboard where you can monitor over time how they've improved. But you're not on your own. We have two shop owners on our team, Frank Scandura and Brittany Schindler, who assist in that process and give you things to work on. So there's check-ins with the trainers, and you monitor over time your progression.
How long have you been working on this?
It's about 6 months old.
Probably.
Right? Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty quick turnaround on something as big as this.
We have amazing engineers on our team. Amazing.
Our engineering team is the best.
It sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no comparison.
Yeah.
The stuff that they can come up with and turn around. Yeah, it's amazing.
You know, you guys are just doing so many things that nobody else either is doing or wants to do, but you're tackling issues that I think are so important for the future of the industry. So I think it's almost like you have a bit of a crystal ball for what's happening, and DVI obviously was a big part of that. And so I guess what Uvo, in your opinion, what's the biggest things this industry needs to focus on now to move forward in the future?
I don't
Good
think
question,
there's one
Braxton.
I mean, pick the brain of the wisest guy in the room, right?
I mean, it's to be proven in the future, but I believe, like you said already, mechanics have become technicians, and the portion which needs computer knowledge is growing every day. That
So
would
wait
be
a minute.
number
Let me
one.
just pause. You're saying that I'm relatively smart,
Yes,
even though I
you
don't
are.
look it. I just got a compliment. Did you hear that, Krista? I got a
I
compliment.
heard it. I heard it, and
Thank
it's being
you.
recorded. So
Yes, that's right.
okay.
That's right. Yeah, thank you.
And
Anyway,
the
keep going.
trend, the trend which excites us is what we have been talking about. Um, Empower customers to make their decisions because everybody else does. And
Right.
people have figured out that if you empower your customer and make them smarter so they make the decision instead of you talking down on them with authority, is gonna create a much better outcome for the shops and for their customers.
Yeah.
And I think that's the that's the transition we like to be part of.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested to see, because I think that's going to take some time.
Yes.
But I'm interested to see as that starts to happen, what kind of effect the industry sees. And I think it could be a big one. So,
But we have seen that through the approval rates of shops who follow the process of empowerment. And that's why those metrics are so important, right? This customer research time was just one of many KPIs, right?
yeah.
And then when we noticed how it's directly correlated to ARO, to average repair order value, we couldn't believe it. I mean, the longer, the higher the arrow. It's that simple. And
Mm,
and so we put it in the tool that a service advisor could actually see the number ticking up. And then we would say to the service advisor, don't call the shop until it stops. Because they're still educating themselves. Don't
right.
interrupt them
Yeah.
educating themselves, right? And
Yeah.
then you can't even wait for the phone call to the shop instead of you calling out because they have now questions. They now want to buy. They want to buy, right?
Right.
Because you have to equip them with the information they needed to make a decision, and they still have some questions.
And there's
That's
plenty of cars on the road. I mean,
yes.
shops are
And the
not going to
average,
hurt
what
from
is it
people.
now? The latest number is 12.6
12.8.
years or
Yeah.
12.8. Yeah.
It's going up quickly.
Yes.
I think it goes up a month every month because everybody's keeping their cars. So,
No, it's
well,
it's exciting, and I have to tell you, I was really in the beginning. I didn't know whether that's a good idea to do Autotech IQ. You won't believe it. So I went to
really?
shops, yeah, because I thought they'd tell me, "Buddy, stay away. We educate our customers, not you." Right? That was my expected reaction, and nobody said it. They all said, "Pre-educated customers approve more. Go ahead." And and some of them even wanted to invest in the company, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I was blown away about the reaction.
How
So
long
we did
ago was that?
2 years.
Yeah. Well, that's great. The things you guys are doing in just the 2 years too. It's your engineering team is pretty good.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really
Well,
good.
thank you guys.
And
I appreciate you
Thank
coming
you
on and
so
sharing
much
some of this
for
stuff.
having
Really
me.
encouraging.
thank
And
you.
as we try to
Thank
improve
you.
the industry, we're all a part of it. So thankful to kind of be on the same team here.
Thank you very
Yes.
much for having
Yeah.
us.
Thank you.
Hey, if you're still here, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Automotive Repair News today. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment, share, subscribe to the podcast. It'll help us out a big deal and help grow the show. And you know what? While you're at it, slap on a review too if you feel like this content is helpful for the industry. Don't forget to follow us on all your favorite social media platforms. We're on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Stay connected and be the first to know about new episodes, behind-the-scene content, and more. And until next time, let's make the industry better together.